Hey gang! How's everyone? Still my head is cut off. Why is my head still cut off? I'm having loss of words right now. I'm gonna try to talk with my words. Maybe it has something to do with the raging pandemic. Good morning. I hope everyone's doing okay. It's been a bit of a strange couple of days, at least in Montreal. We have been having a little deja vu. So there's this variant of COVID. I think everybody knows about it. Yeah, so I was just running my little tushy off yesterday, trying to get a booster shot for myself, for my dad, and also trying to get my hands on some rapid tests, which is impossible. There's a run on rapid tests, y'all. Anyway, I'm trying not to spin out. I'm trying to take it in stride, just like I'm sure everybody is. And I thought, what better way to deal with my problems than to A, get a manicure, and B, do another vlog, right? So here are my nails. Look how pretty. I don't know if you can see the gold. There's a little gold there. It's like it's kind of the grinchiness meets the cheeriness. Let's talk about books, shall we? Oh, and what do I have planned for this vlog? I mean, things are gonna be really tightened in. We're gonna be spending a lot of time at home, so I think I'll be doing a lot of homey things, like wrapping gifts. I wanna get my hands on a holiday crossword puzzle. So I'm going to try to find a newspaper with a holiday crossword puzzle. So that's kind of what we're doing around here. And of course, reading. I have 3 more books to complete all 3 prompts for the reindeer readathon, and I think I'm going to manage it. I'm really stoked about that. I don't know, we went shopping yesterday because we figured the stores are probably going to close, and it wasn't too bad, I have to say. We double masked. And it really wasn't too bad. So I was going to do like a book haul video, but then I was like, it doesn't make sense to do a book haul video before you get your gifts, right? So I'll wait and do a book haul, show you the book haul after I open stuff up. It's around the corner, everyone. Today is Wednesday, the 22nd, and I'm going to be delivering all of the gifts to the lovely ladies at the residence, assuming I can get my hands on a rapid test kit this morning, which is my plan. I have a little secret in. Thank you. You know who you are. Thank you so much. You're saving my butt. And so yeah, I'm gonna, hopefully I don't test positive, and then I'll go deliver all the gifts. Yeah, it's weird times. It's been weird times for so long though, hasn't it? But these are weird times again. And so I know that people are probably like panicking. I have 3 prompts left for the readathon. So the points are 15 points for a book by your favorite author. Rereads count 2. One of your favorite authors rereads counts 2. I'm going to be reading Frenchman'S Cove by Daphne du Maurier. Man, is it hard to get your hands on any Daphne du Maurier books in Canada. Can I just say, they are very, very tricky to find. And I got very excited because I went to one of our secondhand bookstores and I found all these copies of Daphne du Maurier books. I never showed it in a haul, I don't think. But check out this crazy copy of Frenchman'S Creek. Okay, so I'm reading Frenchman'S Creek. Check out this crazy copy that I found, you guys. Isn't that like something? I mean, that's something, right? Look at that. Look at the Frenchman. Oh my goodness. And actually, it's intact. It's in pretty good shape. Like, it's not in poor condition. But there's a bonus points if you read an audiobook. So I did get it on audiobook. That's what it looks like without the crazy cover on it. It's actually pretty nice if you take the, I don't know, maybe some people are down with this kind of cover. I guess it was marketed as a romance, you know? I mean, it is. It's starting out to seem like a real classic romance. This is some interesting marketing. I was pretty thrilled to find that. I've started reading it. I'm not halfway through yet. But so far the story is about our main character, Donna, who is like a debutante, but in London, and it's set in the 17th century. So she's like a lady of the court and she's very bored with her life. So she leaves London and she has this reputation of being a bit of a, she misbehaves. I guess that's the reputation that she has, that she, hangs out in in the pubs and hangs out with her husband's male friends. And the gossip is that she also is promiscuous. And so she has this kind of bad reputation, but she herself is presented as being someone who is just really seeking freedom and seeking a different life. And she wants to escape the demands that society puts on women, and particularly women of her position in society. Yeah, her position in society. She has all these social responsibilities because of her position in society, and she really just wants freedom. She wants to escape them. Of course, she's married. She has 2 children. And so what she does is she leaves London. So she escapes to Navron House, the family mansion. And there, when she gets there, she realizes that someone has been sleeping in her bed, because she finds some tobacco and a copy of a book. And she's like, oh yeah, someone's been in my room. And there's a portrait of her above the bed. And there's this, and then cut to, like, she's walking along the creek and she sees a boat in the creek. And then she hears about this Frenchman who's robbing everybody. And, he's like, number 1 on the wanted list, Frenchman, to catch this Frenchman and string him up. And, he's a pirate. And I think that's enough of a setup. Okay, so that's where and that's not where I am. I'll update you, but that is just the setup of the story. So it's about Donna and her Frenchman, if I could say that. The Frenchman, thief, pirate that she meets when she escapes to the country house. And I think it's going to be so good. I'm just a huge fan of Daphne du Maurier's. I read the first Daphne du Maurier I read was around this time last year. I read Jamaica Inn around this time last year, and I was completely captivated with her writing. And then I read Rebecca. It was the group read for the 'Tis the Damn Season readathon last year, which took place in March. So I've read 2 Daphne du Mauriers. This will be my 3rd one. So I consider her to be a favorite author. I know that I am not going to be wasting my time, or I know that it will be time well spent. And honestly, just to be able to show everybody this cover makes it worth it. But I'm actually reading it on my, just in case anyone's wanting to keep track, I am actually reading it on my Kobo. See? So I'm not quite halfway. Not quite halfway. It's so good. I'm enjoying it immensely, and I will give you an update on that one. So far they just met, and she is like gonna go with him on his boat, which all seems very dramatic. This is a funny story in a way, because I bought this book in the summer because I wanted to read it in the summer. My daughter didn't know that I had it already, and then she saw me reading it and she was like, I got you that for Christmas. Does that happen to anyone else? What a bummer, hey? Like, that was a bummer. That bummed me out. I've been reading The Overstory by Richard Powers. I gotta say, it's freaking fantastic. I kind of don't know why it took me so long to get to it. So Patricia Westerford is a scientist, and she very early on discovered that trees communicate with one another and create defense systems, and that a forest is a community and that trees know how to communicate. I mean, that was, so far in the book, that's what we know about her. This character's research was ignored for years and years, and then it gets rediscovered. So that's kind of where we are with her story. And then the other characters, in particular, Olivia Vandergrift, all of the characters have story arcs, and they're all, I think, so we've read about each of these characters and a little bit about their stories, and they're all coming together in different ways. So it's really fun to read because you're wondering, like, how do they come together? And most of the story, so I mean, just to give you like a little taste, I won't go through each character's profile. Olivia Vandergrift has like a near-death experience, and that's what leads us into the story. She's the final character to get described. And she has like a death experience, or a near-death experience, where she's electrocuted, and then she thinks that so there's some supernatural here, because she thinks that she's being spoken to by voices, and the voices are telling her that she has a higher purpose. And that higher purpose seems to be having to do with becoming an environmental activist. So that's her story. So we follow her at the beginning of the story where the characters are all coming together. And we know that we have the scientist, Patricia Westford, whose work was rejected and important to the agenda of environmental activists to protect trees and to protect forests. And it's just about how these characters are going to come together. And I think they're all going to be coming together as activists. I don't know if they're all going to come together in the same place and be active together, or if it's going to follow the different stories of how the different characters come to find their way to nature. Like they all profiled as having trees in their lives that are part of the background, or maybe even more integral in some cases. And one of the characters falls out of a tree and becomes disabled. So it's like they all have, their trees are playing a very important character, part of the characterization of the characters, if that makes any sense. It's fabulous so far, and I'm just really enjoying this read. Yes, I will keep you updated. I'm so fully enjoying it. So the readathon is really making me read books that maybe I wouldn't have gotten to otherwise. So I just appreciate it so much to the organizers, and it's so much fun to be participating in the readathon. I find I'm very competitive, so when I'm on a team, I'm more likely to follow through with my reading. So I'm loving that. Collection of short stories. So that's for the standalone prompt, the Rudolph prompt, which is the standalone prompt, the Overstory, and it's over 500 pages, so it's going to give me a bonus. Last one for 10 points is Dasher. So I'm reading The Yellow Wallpaper and Other Writings by Charlotte Perkins Gilman, and I just finished the story of The Yellow Wallpaper, and it's freaking fantastic. It's so creepy. I know that it's acclaimed, just had her baby and she's not well. So it's about postpartum depression, but she's not well. And so her husband, a doctor, takes her and wants her to get air. So he takes her to a place in the country so she can get air. And she ends up in this room that has literally yellow wallpaper, and the yellow wallpaper like comes to life. And that's all I'm going to say for now. She was a writer, editor, and journalist whose poems, articles, short stories, and novels had a single focused equality for women. So yeah, I'm into this. I really like this copy too. Isn't it pretty? This is a Modern Library Trade Paperbacks edition. I'll let you know about the other stories when I finish reading the collection. Those are my reads for the reading vlog, and yeah, I'm going to take you along with me. Like I said, I'm probably going to wrap some presents. I think I'm going to have a pajama day, which will be really nice, given that it looks like we might be under conditions of pseudo lockdown here. The government just announced that schools are closed. I mean, it's very deja vu. It feels like we're going through it all over again. It's hard. It's hard. It's hard, everyone. I hope that you're hanging and enjoying Christmas in whatever way you can that's safe. Anyway, hello. Hi. Hello. That's better. Hello, 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 hello. Ah, whew, I've been baking in the kitchen, and I should probably take my sweater off because it's warm. It's not warm, but it's just the baking. Being in front of an oven will do that to you. Oh my goodness, everyone. I am enjoying Frenchman'S Creek so much. Daphne du Maurier, man. Underrated. Daphne du Maurier is completely underrated. I don't understand why. We went to the bookstore this week and I couldn't find, they only had 2 different versions of Rebecca. That's it. They didn't have any other Daphne du Maurier. I don't understand. This doesn't make any sense to me. No. It's very strange. I'm sure in the UK you can get her work, but I mean, it's just shocking how little is available by Daphne du Maurier. Thank goodness I have my secondhand copy of Frenchman'S Creek. I love this copy so much. So much. This book. It's a little like cheesy, I guess. I don't know. No, I don't know. It's not even cheesy. It's just, I don't want to say formulaic, but it is a story about a French pirate and an English She's married to a baron, so I don't know if that makes her a baroness. So it's this love story, and it is about, you know, adventure and freedom for her. It's all very exciting. It's definitely very exciting. I've been reading it extremely quickly. I think I have about 60 pages left. I just am enjoying it so much. I don't know how much of the plot I should give away because I don't want to ruin it for anyone who hasn't read it. But on the other hand, some people don't mind spoilers. So I guess if you're watching and you don't want to have spoilers for Frenchman's Creek, maybe skip this bit because I'm going to explain some of the plot. So I had done a little intro to the story. So our main character, Donna, has escaped from London high society in the 17th century. I had the same problem last time. 17th century London high society, and she's escaped to her country house and has found that, well, she has this servant William, and the servant William is actually a little bit suspect because he actually works for this French sailor pirate who has his boat called what's it called? Le Maillot? La Mouette. The boat is called La Mouette, and I'm sure there's significance to that. I'll look it up. I know I should know that because I speak French, and I should know what La Mouette is. I think they reference it in the book too, but I for some reason can't remember right now. Anyhow, so his boat is like parked in the creek, and he's been pillaging the wealthy homes in this countryside, and it's justified because apparently he's stealing from the rich and giving to the poor. It's a little bit Robin Hood kind of idea there. And anyhow, so I think I mentioned that she comes to the house and she goes to her room, and she realizes that he's been staying in her room, and then she meets him when she's down by the creek, and then she decides that, you know, she wants to have a little adventure with him. And initially they go fishing together, and she kind of suggests, like, could I come with you sometime? Could I, you know, run away with you, sort of thing. And so, you know, they're falling for each other. And then she does escape. She pretends that she's ill, and no one is to come into her room to bother her in a room. And she goes to the boat. Meanwhile, she had been at one of these lords' houses, and they were talking about stringing the French pirate up, finding him and hanging him. So she tells him about their plans, and he says, oh, I'm not bothered. And then he decides, so he wants to play a prank on this group of noblemen to kind of show them that they can't catch him and that there's nothing they can do. And she wants to go along on this little adventure. So she disguises herself as a cabin boy, and they go together, and he steals this nobleman's wig. It's silly, but it's fun. It's such a fun book. And she is concerned that she was recognized in the process of this little expedition. And they're, of course, furious, and they send out their soldiers after this Frenchman and his crew. And they're really getting riled up now to catch this guy and to bring him to justice. So she stays on the boat one night, and then she goes back after 5 days. She goes back because she's pretending to be ill. So she goes back to the country house and slips back into her room. And her husband's name is Harry, has come back from London. And he's like a horrible character. He's just a horrible, horrible character. So well written, his character, and how much she despises him is really well described too. You know, he's always trying to like get her to, you know, give her attentions to him, and she doesn't want to have anything to do with him anymore. And she really sees like her life as it's sort of, she sees her life ahead of her as just being really unsatisfactory and really boring, almost just, not just dull, but just really like suffocating. She really doesn't want to live this life. And as a woman, she doesn't find that there's very much for her there's not much she can do. So again, these are, you know, we've seen all of these themes before. So where are we at now? So Harry, her husband, says, oh, you know, I'm having a dinner party, and all of the noblemen are coming here, and we're going to come up with a plan, and at midnight we're going to get the Frenchman. And so she tells William, the servant, about this plan, and William goes and tells the Frenchman about the plan. So she's a little bit of a spy, like an informer. And so is William, actually. He goes off and he's missing, and Harry's really pissed off that his servant isn't around. And she gets really dressed really beautifully because she's worried that they're going to recognize her as the cabin boy from the prank that was played previously. So she dresses like really fancy so that nobody will suspect. And then they have this dinner party, and just as they're, her whole role at the dinner party is to try to get them as drunk as possible and try to keep them as long as possible in the hopes that they'll just give up on their venture because they're going to be too drunk and they'll have waited too long and they'll just give up. But unfortunately that doesn't work. And so they get to the end of this dinner party at midnight was the time they were going to go, and they're corralled, the troops are corralled and they're about to leave. And as soon as they're about to leave, the Frenchman shows up with all of his men. Anyway, this is definitely spoilers. So that's kind of where we are now, and the Frenchman is kind of triumphant, but we don't know how this is going to end. I'm about 60 pages to the end, and so we don't know if Donna is going to escape with her lover and go with him on his voyage back to France, and if he's going to escape the men, the noblemen and the soldiers who are after him. William has been injured. He got injured, so hopefully he's going to be okay. I think he's okay. So it's this kind of really high energy adventure with a lot of, like, these people are soulmates and they've found each other. So it's a romance within a thriller. And I think that's the thing about Daphne du Maurier. Like, she's not really, she writes in more, it's more than one genre. You can't really put any of her books just in one genre. I remember when I read Jamaica Inn, it was kind of the same thing. I had that same feeling. It's a little bit mystery, it's a little bit romance, it's a little bit just, you know, sort of fiction where you're very much trying to understand, like, you have these characters that are a little bit more complex. Like, I wouldn't say the Frenchman in this story is so complex, but Donna, the female character, is a little bit, she's slightly complex. This is definitely not that complex, but I'll just read you a little excerpt. Like, her desire for adventure, the way she described it. She says, she writes, "She looked towards the distant coast, her heart beating with a strange excitement, and she was seized, even as he and his men were seized, with the spirit of superb adventure." So her motivation for, you know, is not just love. It is in part love, but it also is out of a desire for a more exciting life, out of a desire to escape the boredom of her high society life. I mean, obviously it's like the boredom of the wealthy, right? So, and this is more kind of on the same theme. She writes, "My master thinks not, my lady. He has it that those who live a normal life in this world of ours are forced into habits, into customs, into a rule of life that eventually kills all initiative, all spontaneity. A man becomes a cog in the wheel, part of a system. But because a pirate is a rebel and an outcast, he escapes from the world. He is without ties, without man-made principles." So that's the Frenchman speaking about his life and why he made the choices that he did to become a pirate. He plays by his own rules. He lives the way he wants to live. And he's the character is very confident and very self-assured. You can see why she's fallen for this character, because of those qualities, like that he's has such a free spirit. He's got that kind of, you know, I'm not gonna bend to these rules of society. I'm gonna do whatever, you know, my spirit moves me to do. Really, this dinner party is really suspenseful because we don't know during this dinner party whether she's going to get found out or not. Oh, I forgot. She does get found out. I forgot. I'm at this part where one of the noblemen realizes the connection between her and the Frenchman, and he's just held. Oh my God, it took such a crazy turn at this point. I totally forgot. It took such a crazy turn at this point. He figured out that she was connected to the Frenchman, and he threatens to kill her. And then she defends herself. And oh my gosh, it's crazy. This book is like got these twists and turns that only Daphne du Maurier seems to be able to pull off. Anyway, I won't read you any more quotes. But yeah, it's just so good. I'm not finished yet, but I'll probably finish it today or tomorrow. It sucked me in so deep that I haven't read any more of the Overstory or any of the other stories in the story collection that I'm reading right now, because I mean, I don't want it to end either. It's so, so good. Oh my God, it's fabulous. I'm so glad I decided to read another Daphne du Maurier, and I just can't, I don't know. She's so underrated. So many films were made based on her work, and she's so underrated. I don't know why more people aren't talking about Daphne du Maurier's books. I know they're not all fantastic, like as you say, they're not all bangers, but this one's pretty dang good. It's my mom's favorite, Frenchman'S Creek, so I'm kind of reading it on honor of her. Anyhow, that's my update. What day are we today? You know what? You know what, everyone? We're Thursday now, and things got a little hairy there with the in Montreal with the Omicron variant. Yesterday and the day before, I was running around like crazy trying to get a rapid test done so I could get my dad for Christmas, and he didn't have his 3rd booster, so I was running around trying to get him a booster. Like, it was a little intense. So I'm really happy to have this Daphne du Maurier novel to be able to escape to, quite honestly. I hope everyone's doing okay out there. Yeah, so rapid test, negative. I mean, I know they're not perfect, but it does help in this situation. So yeah, we're the day before Christmas Eve. Fortunately, we have not been put in lockdown. I had a feeling we might go into lockdown. We have not been put into lockdown, but you know, things are a little, we don't know how. It doesn't seem like the Omicron variant is maybe as dangerous, but I guess we just don't know yet. So kind of hoping it isn't. Anyhow, so right now I have an apple cake baking in the oven because I had a ton of apples. And I've made an executive decision to cook my turkey tomorrow, which is Christmas Eve. I'm picking it up in the morning. I'm going to cook it tomorrow because I think that cooking the turkey on Christmas Day, as well as going to get my folks and everything, it's just going to be too stressful. So I like to prep things ahead of time. I've already prepped my gravy. I've already made my cranberry sauce. Got an apple cake baking in the oven. Now what I really have to do is I really have to wrap my gifts. So that's what I'm going to be doing right now, wrapping up my gifts. And yeah, I'm like halfway through the Overstory, so I'm hoping to finish it. I'm not sure if this vlog will go up on Sunday. I'm hoping to get this vlog up on Sunday. We shall see. We shall see. I love Christmas. Anyway, I hope everyone's trying to keep it cheerful. And yeah, I'm gonna wrap some presents now. give you an update on my reading. Today is Christmas Day, if you can believe it. I don't think I'm going to end up getting this vlog out tomorrow as I had intended. I was going to try to get that for Sunday, but I don't think that's going to happen, understandably. So it'll go up sometime in the next week. Listen, y'all, I am enjoying my reading. I am making a little less progress than I would normally because of the Christmas. I had to pick up the turkey yesterday. I picked up the turkey yesterday and I cooked the turkey yesterday and it was fantastic. But it was a little rich and my stomach isn't doing so hot this morning. So more information than you need, I think. I'm all dressed up because today we're going to go over to see my dad and my mom and we're going to unwrap presents. It's going to be really nice. So it's a little early in the morning and I'm just trying to get in a little update before the day begins. So yeah, I'll just hop right into it. I've read 4 of the short stories in this collection. The Yellow Wallpaper is the famous short story in this collection by Charlotte Perkins Gilman. She was a writer in the 18th century and she wrote a lot of the themes so far. I'll get to the story of the Yellow Wallpaper in just a minute. But in the other short stories that I've been reading, a lot of the themes have to do with women's role in society and the way, it was very feminist, but she talks a lot about, so she kind of writes these creepy kind of horror type stories like the Yellow Wallpaper, and also in this collection anyway, she's writing a lot about women and the economy from a very feminist perspective. I'll just give you an example. There's a story called 3 Thanksgivings, which is essentially about a woman who starts a small business. At first, she's invited to her son's house for Thanksgiving, where she goes. And then, well, she's invited by her son and her daughter for Thanksgiving, and she initially goes to her son's house for Thanksgiving in the first year. And all the way through the story, there's a man who's asking her to marry him if she can't pay back the mortgage for the property that she bought. But instead, she turns the property into a welcome house for women. And they pay, like she talks about economy and small business in this story, where it would be easier for a woman to pay 10 cents a week to come to the welcome house than to pay $5 a year. And it's just about how this woman builds this business, and by the end of it, she is able to have Thanksgiving there, or she has Thanksgiving there in the middle, and then she goes to her daughter's. I can't remember the order, but it's really interesting. It's about women making their own way in the 18th century. So I think that that was very unique. I don't know very much about her, but I think that that's what makes her writing important, is that she was doing this at a time where it would take a lot of courage to be writing in this way about women. And so I'm going to continue reading this set of short stories and I'll update you when I'm finished, because I don't yet know what my favorite one is. I will admit that the first one was creepy, but there was a second one that followed the first one called The Giant Wisteria, which was also really creepily written. So I'm enjoying this very much. Oh, and I forgot to say, I finished Frenchman'S and it was marvelous. Just marvelous. I don't know, Daphne du Maurier is such a good writer and she's so underrated, and she's one of those good writers who's very consistent. Her endings are always really excellent. Like, her endings never disappoint, or at least not so far. I haven't found the endings disappointing. I know some people feel that the ending of Rebecca is lacking, but I was okay with it. And the ending of this book is good. I'm not going to tell you how it ends, but it was just such an entertaining book to read. I read it so quickly. It was so enjoyable. It was so engaging. There was a lot of, you know, witty dialogue and really likable characters. William, the servant character, is really likable. The Frenchman is very, very mysterious and intriguing. And there's that sense of high sea adventure and escapades and like where things could really go wrong, but you don't know whether they're going to go wrong or not. Kind of a crazy feel to it. And then there's this undercurrent of the social commentary about people and living free or living confined by societal rules and norms and expectations. So it was wonderful. I really enjoyed Frenchman's Creek, and I'm trying to just get in my head whether it's my favorite. I mean, I said this about Jamaica Inn. I think between Jamaica Inn and Frenchman's Creek, I'd pick a favorite, but to be honest with you, those two books and Rebecca are all so different. That's the other thing about the Daphne du Maurier books that I've read so far. They're all very different from one another, so it would be really difficult, I think, to pick a favorite, but I thoroughly enjoyed Frenchman's Creek. I'm so happy that I read it. I think I'm going to make it an annual Christmassy thing to read a Daphne du Maurier and then I'll just reread them after that. So yeah, fabulous book. Highly, highly recommend. And then the Overstory, which I'm thinking of having a pajama day to try to finish the Overstory for this vlog. We'll see if that transpires. I mean, it's really good. I was wrong. I don't think the characters actually do come together. I'm not really sure if they do or not. I think maybe we just follow each character's lives as they pursue environmental activism and work, as the case may be, towards trying to create a better world for nature and for the environment. There is one character who has a video game company, and I'm not really sure how he maybe is just a pure escapist. I'm not really sure how his story is going to tie into that theme. I did want to read a couple of excerpts because I think there's definitely obviously a social commentary. One of the characters in the story is part of a couple, and he is a lawyer. And he has this attitude about the world that the law is what matters and that's how society works. And it's also, there's a deep criticism of that system in the story versus nature. So man's law versus nature. So much so that there's a young male character who's doing a degree in psychology and who we're following. And he writes, and this is early on in his career, and he had written a paper. I can't remember the topic of the paper, but it was a very enlightening paper. And when he submitted it, he did some experiments. I think he did experiments with ants. Yeah, he did experiments called, the name for his science fair called Some Observations of Ant Colony Behavior and Intelligence. And he submitted his project. He wasn't awarded a medal because I'll read what the excerpt says. You made all those measurements yourself, and you started 4 months ago during vacation. His eyes filled with tears. He shrugs. The judges award him no medal, not even a bronze. They say it's because he has no bibliography. A bibliography is a required part of the formal report. Adam knows the real reason they think he stole. They can't believe a kid worked for months on an original idea for no reason at all except the pleasure of looking until you see something. So this idea that this society that we've created stifles creativity and it stifles experimentation and exploration, that same theme is going on with the female scientist whose work was kind of condemned, that's now experiencing a resurgence. So that is a theme that keeps coming up. And then in the writing, there's a lot of descriptive writing about trees and forest and nature, but trees specifically, and kind of linking trees metaphorically to people's lives and these characters' lives. And just to give you an example of that, I'll just read a little excerpt about this other character, Mimi, who, this is just a description of her growing up. A teenage Mimi lifted her own 9-year-old shoulders to gaze at the Arats from high up and years away. Out of the gazing teen rose another even older woman. Time was not a line unrolling in front of her. It was a column of concentric circles, with herself at the core and the present floating outward along the outermost rim. Future selves stacked up above and behind her. That's kind of to give you some idea of the writing and some of the themes that are being explored. I might follow up on that when I finish. I have heard that this book gets off to a really nice start with the character development and the character, little short stories of the characters that start out the book, and then after that it kind of loses steam. But I'm still really enjoying it, and I'm almost 300 pages in, so I'm more than halfway in, so I will update you. I don't know when I'm going to come back on, and I'm not sure when this vlog will get posted, but Merry Christmas, everyone. You'll be watching this after Christmas, which is so strange, so odd. I'm going to try to get the gang out for a walk, so maybe tomorrow morning. Get up early. Yeah, tomorrow morning I'm going to try to get up early, go for a walk, see the sunrise, and then stay in my pajamas all day and finish my reading. Hey gang. Oh, I think I'm gonna get myself a nice coffee. I'm wearing my toque because if I take my toque off, here's the thing. Look at that. It's like an imprint. It's an imprint of the toque. Oh, well, I'll take it off. Anyway. Hey gang, I'm just here to update you and I think sign off on this vlog so it's not too long. I'm just gonna grab myself a nice coffee and I'll be right with ya. Look how pretty. Nothing like an iced coffee get you through your afternoon, right? I had some pretty high ambitions for the holiday season. There are quite a number of things that I thought I was gonna do that I haven't had the energy or the time to do. Still haven't watched. Actually, we did watch The Grinch. That was really fun. We watched The Grinch and we watched Home Alone 2 for Christmas movies this year. But I never got an opportunity to make the garlands that I wanted to make or the mulled wine. So, you know, not enough hours in the day, really. So, I'm going to start out with the Overstory and just give you an update. I'm about... I think I'm 3/4 of the way finished the Overstory. So I know I'm going to finish it in the next couple of days. We're the 27th or the 28th today. So I know I'm going to get it finished for the readathon, which means it'll be finished. I'll finish my last book for the readathon. I finished this book of short stories, which I'll talk about in just a moment. This book is really good. It's a bit... The last 100 pages that I just read, I did find the pacing a little... slower. Not really sure why. The middle is a little bit just slower. I know there have been some people who have given up on the book. I read a couple of reviews. I can't remember who said that, but a couple of people said, you know, that it got a little bit boring in the middle. I've stuck with it. I mean, it's still really engaging for the most part. I wasn't wrong when I thought that the characters come together. They don't all of them come together in physical form, but what 5 of them do ultimately come together so far as a group of activists. The thing about the environmental activism that's presented in the book is that, and this was also presented in another book that I read this year, which I haven't talked about yet on my channel, which I will probably talk about for my end of year because it was I think one of the best books that I read this year, which is called How Beautiful We Were by, and I'm not going to be able to pronounce her name, Mbolo Mbui. This group of environmental activists, I mean, it's quite violent. So he's done a really good job of demonstrating how violent we are with trees, with the forests, that deforestation is such an ultimately violent act. And then the protesters that are the activists and the protesters that are organizing the protest, that these 5 characters who come together there's like police brutality, there's violence, and I don't want to ruin the story for those of you that are planning to read it, but it culminates, this drama culminates, and I'm at the end of that section. It's a bit intense. It's quite intense. That part is intense. There's even a trial that takes place where there's an injunction. They're requesting an injunction against this deforestation activity. And that's when the Patricia Westover character comes into that part of the activism part of the story because she testifies at this trial. So it's really, really good. It's a little hard on the soul, as I think is intended. Yeah, I'm still in the middle of reading it, so I can't formulate all of my thoughts on it. It's interesting. One of the characters, Adam, is a psychologist. There's a couple of commentaries that I think are really interesting like this. One character, Adam, is a psychologist, and he joins the group, and it's interesting his story because he is studying the idea of a bystander who doesn't take action, who doesn't do anything in a situation. So that's kind of an idea that's explored. There's another character who doesn't come together with these activists, who's a lawyer character, so the legal system is explored. And it is really interesting and I think thoughtful the way the book presents, you know, academia, the legal system, the systems that are running the world. They're not, like the legal system, the laws aren't designed to protect people. They're designed to protect the means of production and capitalism. So there's also this idea running through the novel of the concept that plants are people, that trees are people and should have the same rights as people, and the protection of the species. So that's really interesting. We're not at the end of the book yet, but the last section is called Seeds. And there is a moment at this point in the book where Patricia Westover has already filed for the intellectual property rights and protection of certain trees and their seedlings. This idea of working within the system as a Patricia Westover, working outside of the system as one of these activists to try to move the needle. These activists become, as I mentioned, increasingly radical. So they start out having peaceful protests and they increasingly have more violent actions. So they increasingly take more and more violent actions. As more and more violent actions are taken in the way that in the response to them by the police and by the legal system. So yeah, it's a good novel. There's a couple of stories that I still don't know how they fit. So there's the story of Nile, who is, I guess he's a paraplegic. He fell from the tree and he's like programmed this massive AI world where you can escape reality and build your own world. He's like worth multi-billion dollars. I don't know how his story ties in. So that is where I am with the Overstory. I didn't manage to finish it for this vlog, but I know I'm going to finish it next week. So if you want to hear my full thoughts on it, I'll be talking about it in my December wrap up when that comes along. I already spoke quite a bit about this, in particular the Yellow Wallpaper, which was the first story in the collection. But honestly, I really did enjoy all of the stories in this collection. I thought they were all pretty good. They were all engaging and interesting. There was maybe one that just didn't seem as good. I don't have a favorite story, but I thought it was a really good little collection, and I would definitely recommend reading it if you're curious about her writings. There is a really good story called The Widow's Mite, which I thought was fantastic, which is the story of a woman, well, it's this actually story of a widow and her children discussing her husband's will after he's just passed. And the children are saying, oh, you know, I get this property and I get this property. And they think that all of the properties that he owned were being divided up by the children. And the widow comes out from her mourning, from her room where she's in mourning, and she has a black veil on and everything. She comes out and she says, well, actually, when your father was ill, and she had cared for their father, he was ill for a long period of time. And she said, well, when your father was ill and I was caring for him, he signed over his properties to me, and I've been running his properties by caring for the ill, and I've turned it into a really successful business. And therefore, you know, everything's in my name and you're not getting any of these properties. They're sort of flabbergasted, and she says, you know, I'll pay you the value of those properties at the time that he gave the properties to me. And they each offer to have her come and stay and live with them so she's not by herself. And she says, oh, no, 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 I'm going to take the profits from these businesses and I'm going to travel the world. And at the end of the story, the last line is, you know, and they parted ways, two going east and one going west. So I thought that was just such a great story, you know, after, I think she says at one point, like, for the first 20 years of my life, I was trying to figure out who I was. For the last 30 years of my life, I've been taking care of you children and your father, and now it's time for me to discover the world, and I'm off to New Zealand. But it was wonderful. So a really nice little collection of stories. That was a really fun discovery, thanks to the Reindeer Readathon. It's a sleepy Sunday afternoon. I'm going to get back to reading the Overstory, and I'm going to sign off for today. Still trying to keep the holiday spirit alive. I don't know how long you all keep your Christmas trees up for, if you have a Christmas tree in your house and if you celebrate Christmas. Let me know in the comments below how long you leave your tree up for. I think we try to leave ours up for as long as we possibly can. And I think I'm going to stop vlogging for a little bit. I've vlogged a lot over the Christmas season, so I think I'm going to take a break from that. I'll be coming back on the channel with my plans for the new year, my stats for this year. I read more this year than I've read any other year ever, thanks to this channel and thanks to the readathons that I joined this year. So it's pretty exciting. So yeah, I'm gonna go work on a massive crossword puzzle. Never got to make that mulled wine. You never know, maybe we'll end up making some mulled wine tonight. I hope that everyone has a fantastic new year, and yeah, I'll see you in 2022. Whoa! Bye! Thanks for tuning in. Really appreciate it. If you like what you're seeing on the channel, you can hit the subscribe button. You can tell other people about it, and you can join in the conversation in the comments whenever you have some instinct to do that. I would encourage it. And yeah, give the video a thumbs up if you didn't like this video. You just keep it to yourself, why don't you? Bye. Happy New Year. Happy New Year. So yes, I've been reading a lot. My eyes are kind of bugging out a little bit.